HBCUs are guardians of the culture.
The stomping ground for the African American intellectual.
A place where you go to cut your teeth.
They serve as bridges between our storied past and our present progress.
Founded out of necessity, sustained through service and sacrifice.
Historically, Black colleges and universities have always been the heartbeat of this country's fight for justice.
Whether it was sit-ins in Greensboro,
bus boycotts in Tallahassee,
or protests in Orangeburg,
HBCUs are and always have been the soul of the nation.
Historically Black colleges and universities built America's Black middle class, and Joe Biden knows that's the backbone of our country.
He has the boldest presidential plan for HBCUs in our history, investing $70 billion in HBCUs and minority-serving institutions, lowering costs for students, and building world-class facilities worthy of our world-class talent.
Joe Biden is not only investing in us, but investing in a better America.
When HBCUs rise, we all rise. We are HBCU Students for Biden.
Welcome to this Biden-Harris campaign event, Make It Happen Monday. Please welcome Nia Page.
Welcome everybody to this week's special edition of Make It Happen Monday for National HBCU Week. My name is Nia Page. I am a graduate of Spelman College and I am the campaign's National African American Engagement Coordinator and Program Coordinator. I'm also leading this week's HBCU Homecoming Week. We are so happy to have you here for this incredible programming featuring HBCU business owners, HBCU student entrepreneurs, and some incredible Black business owners. And we are also very happy to be streaming this tonight on Senator Harris's YouTube channel. You can get involved in all the programming throughout this week, ending with our big rally at the end of the week on Friday by texting HBCU to 30330. I'm really excited to have you here tonight. And with that, I'm going to kick the program off to Trey Baker.
Thanks so much, Nia. One, thank you for the hard work that you're doing as the program coordinator for the African Americans for Biden program, and also for the work that you're doing in kicking off this excellent HBCU week here for the campaign. Here on Make It Happen Monday, we talk about Black-owned businesses, and it's such an important part of our community, the entrepreneurship, the building our communities up. And it goes all through the history of African Americans in this country. And so the Biden-Harris campaign thinks it's vitally important that, especially during this time where our communities and our businesses are suffering from the ravages of COVID-19, where it's being predicted that 40% of Black-owned businesses won't be able to survive and flourish through this pandemic, that we talk about Black-owned businesses in our community and what's working, how people can get assistance, and then how we move on from here. Because in a Biden-Harris administration, there will be a significant role for Black-owned businesses to play, and there will be a significant amount of relief and assistance, including more than $150 billion in investment in CDFIs and Black-owned banks in our community. So that's what this conversation is about. But more so today, we're giving a nod to HBCUs during HBCU weeks. So all of the entrepreneurs that you'll hear from tonight are HBCU students or HBCU graduates. Nia herself is a Spelman grad. I am a Tougaloo College grad. So we're very proud of the work that HBCU students are doing. So with that said, we want to jump right into the program and jump right into the show. And tonight, to host and to guide us through this process is one of the most legendary on-air personalities in American history, really, but also is a legend in Atlanta and around the AUC. So we want to get into the program, talk through it. And so with that said, I'd like to introduce you to our host, the legendary Frank Ski.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here, everybody. You know, Make It Happen Mondays is our business series highlighting the importance of Black businesses in the community, you know, often marginalized, by connecting all of us to the Biden-Harris campaign and team members so we can have some robust conversations this evening, bringing together entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, which I always have believed is the key to our future. And with these bright, brilliant minds that we are producing, how do they get access to the capital they need and the help that they need to get through what is right now being considered the hardest time in America in most of our history? So we'd like to start this evening by having a quick fireside chat. This evening, I'd like to introduce Jason Moat. He is the founder of Trap Karaoke. He will be our first guest this evening as we begin to have our conversation. And I'd just like to say good evening to Jason.
Hey, Frank. Good evening to you as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You know, I know that right now, talking Black business is a really high point right now in America. Right now, I think our African-American brothers and sisters, especially within the HBCUs, are the most woke generation in a long time. And they want to know how we get through this thing and what is it that we have to do. What are your thoughts when I mention that?
You know, my thoughts on this issue are that we all have to get involved, you know, at whatever capacity that we can, whether it's organizing, whether it's, you know, getting out to vote, getting our friends and family out to vote. I think that we all have to find something that we can do. Even being on this live stream, you know, Chris Upperman reached out to me, and typically I don't usually do interviews, but you know, the stakes are so high this election, you know what I mean? And so it's just, none of us can afford to sit on the sidelines. So whatever platform you have, even if it's just rounding up your family members and getting them out to vote, getting them to be more aware of the issues, we all have to get involved at some level. And so that's the thing I would emphasize to everyone watching today.
So what was it that made you become an entrepreneur?
Man, what made me become an entrepreneur? Well, I started, you know, I worked on Capitol Hill during my undergrad years. I worked for the late, great Senator Robert Byrd. And to quote the scholar Cameron, he has a line that goes, "It gets boring just looking." And, you know, I was looking and seeing like all these businesses being created, seeing how hip hop artists were creating businesses. I haven't created a blog covering this stuff. One of my early interviews was with a young Drake before he signed to Cash Money, and him talking about like all his entrepreneurial endeavors and stuff like that. And so after doing enough of that, I was like, you know, I want to get in the game. I want to contribute something. And so that's kind of just how I got the ball rolling. You know, I looked for opportunities where I could bring to bear, you know, my skills that I had at the time. You know, I was really interested in economics, behavioral economics, psychology. And so, you know, marketing seemed like a great way into, you know, using those skill sets and into entrepreneurship.
Did you have a mentor when you first started?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously, you know, Senator Robert Byrd was, you know, just a legend on Capitol Hill. So I learned a lot from him. But I also worked for a guy by the name of David Casino. He created this platform called Thunderclap. He gave me just a tremendous opportunity to work at his company, and seeing him being an entrepreneur, it made me really understand what it meant, you know? And a big part of what people don't talk about when it comes to entrepreneurship is just like the leadership aspect of it. I saw how he treated the people that worked for him. You know, I saw how he was very tenacious when it came to solving problems, and that really inspired me and motivated me, you know, when it was time for me to go off and do my own entrepreneurial endeavors. I had that framework of just like what it would take and the skills that I would need to bring to that.
Let me ask a very important question. When Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win this election, share with us what you believe should be the first thing they should do to help businesses like yours.
Oh man, that's a great question. I think, you know, a lot of the things I think you covered at the top of your introduction, you know, access to capital is going to be really important for a lot of Black-owned businesses. A lot of businesses are struggling right now, especially the brick and mortar ones. And a lot of them haven't figured out how to retool or adapt to the digital yet, you know what I mean? And so that creates an even more of a gap. But the thing that I really want to emphasize here is that leadership really matters. You know what I mean? I think there was an opportunity back in April when all this stuff started happening for us to galvanize everyone. You know, everyone was waiting for a leader to come forth and say, hey, we're all in this together. We're going to get through this together. You know, we've got to look out for one another. And that just never happened. And it became kind of like this dog eat dog world where it's just like, you know, I got to eat, you know, and if it means at your expense, that's what's happening. So I think the most important thing that Biden-Harris, win and administration can do is restore that sense of unity that we're all in this together, because, you know, it's going to take a long time for businesses to recover from this. You know what I mean? Like, it was great that over the summer, all these businesses and brands were giving money, to organizations, but this is going to be a thing that's going to take maybe a decade for some of these businesses to recover. So let's not forget about them. Let's make sure that, you know, year 2, year 3, year 4, we're still making those investments. It's just not a one-time thing.
Absolutely. Listen, Jason, thank you so much. Congratulations on Trap Karaoke, and continue making us all proud, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to introduce our roundtable discussion and conversation. In the roundtable this evening, as we begin to talk, we have Randall Barnes, founder of HBCU Pulse, joining us tonight. Jamila McGill, Spelman graduate and tea shop owner. Ja'Cory Bernard, Morehouse student and entrepreneur. David Gibson Jr., FAMU graduate and business owner. And Eugenia Willman, Spelman student and entrepreneur. Welcome you all to our chat this evening. We truly appreciate you guys taking the time out and sharing everything that you guys have been able to go through in moving this conversation forward. Thank you very much, and welcome to the show. And David, if you're on, I'd like to start with you real quick, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So it's HBCU week all across the country, and everybody has an HBCU story about your college experience. You've been out of undergrad for a little, so you're more established post-college now. But what is important to you and the connection to your business about your HBCU experience?
Absolutely. Thank you, Frank, for that question. So I graduated Florida A&M School of Business and Industry, 2007, finished with my MBA. In terms of like what we're doing with my company, Sports Market, we partnered with a couple of organizations to actually create donation mechanisms, as well as ability to give back for alumni and current students. So it's really been a great, I would say, experience in terms of taking what I've learned on campus at Florida A&M and turning that experience into a positive impact on the students as well as alumni.
Thank you very much. And Jamila McGill, you're a Spelman grad. You're also an owner and business owner. And the question I have for you, because I know you talked earlier to us about, you know, just struggling through this pandemic, but how hard is it for you to be able to get capital to help you through this period?
So in the beginning, I would say it was tremendously hard. We're all probably aware of like the PPP and how that came out of Congress. And so there was a lot of hope around that. And there was this idea that, okay, you apply and then you shall receive, right? And what we came to find out is as we went through these portals, right? And we did it by the book, that we're kind of being counted out. A lot of, not just myself, but a lot of other small Black businesses were being counted out. And what it really came down to was knowing a banker, right? And so when we got tapped into a banker, and that speaks to privilege, right? And who was already in the room and having those connections and access, right? That it didn't come down to everyone having a fair play and a fair chance through the online portals, right? If you are connected to a banker, the chances of you getting access to those funds to help build back your business became incredibly low, right? The probability of you getting it really decreased, right? So fast forward to June, we were pretty much empty until then. As some days, even watching Netflix with myself and my fiance, we co-own the space together, Brooklyn Tea, watching Netflix, getting real caught up on a lot of episodes because it was just that empty. It wasn't until we were met with the Black Lives Matter movement, the energy around, energy and frustration around police brutality, and just this sense of urgency around supporting Black businesses, that was our turnaround, right? And so the aid for us never truly came from the government per se. It was that energy around a travesty, right? That brought us out of our business darkness. And we've been able, luckily, to keep up with a lot of that support and that same enthusiasm. And I mean, it really took us from being on the edge of destruction to really becoming a new entity and a new version of ourselves.
That's wonderful. And congratulations to you for being able to do that. I know it was a struggle, especially being in New York City at the time. One of the places that really shut down, unlike
early,
unlike what they call a shutdown down here in Atlanta. Speaking of Ja'Cory Bernard Morehouse and student entrepreneur, what kind of challenges have you had right now so far?
Thank you for the question. I think for me, some of the biggest challenges I've faced is just reaching out and connecting with people. We know right now during this pandemic, life is not the same. Nothing is the same. And it's hard to connect with people and to make those meaningful connections. I'll share part of what my HBCU taught us, right? And I think most of them do, is that your net worth is your network, right? The people you know, going back to your point, Jamila, about the banking, right? Part of the process that the Biden plan outlines is the reform for the opportunity zone, right? So that everybody has equitable access to the same information for the same resources to help the businesses thrive. So for me, I think it's this pandemic is impacting people's exposure and just ability to reach people. I know for me, I've tutored a lot. That's been one of my main goals and primary focuses. And coming into this pandemic, it's been very tough. Not only have I had to transition from in-person to virtual, but people are a little bit more hesitant because of funding, right? Everybody is in a crisis right now financially. And so that's just not something that becomes a priority, as we see with education in and of itself. So that's one of the main issues that I've been dealing with.
Thank you very much, Square. I appreciate that. And David Gibson, FAMU graduate and business owner. Right now, to everybody watching, what is it and what does it mean really to be an entrepreneur in this environment?
Well, I would say, thank you for that question. I would say that it's really the ability to adapt to what's happening around you. I would also say using the available resources that you have and not being afraid to, ask for help. And so that's part of, some of the things that some other panelists mentioned, reaching out to their network, figuring out what you need to do in order to complete that application, whether it's for a grant or for, some emergency loans. So I think it's really just being able to not be afraid to reach out to your network, as Ja'Cory mentioned. And then also just, being focused on what you need to do to keep things afloat. You want to make sure that your business is still alive, still going, and finding ways to generate revenue where possible.
Eugenia Williams-Spellman, and student entrepreneur, what do you think is one thing that young entrepreneurs need to know before they start their business?
Wow, thank you for that question. One thing that I do think that young entrepreneurs need to know is that not everyone is going to support you. You need to stand your ground with your business and with your platform so that you can present it to people and so that everyone can see it. I've experienced so many people supporting me, my Spelman sisters, my Morehouse brothers, and just the AUC community in general. But not everyone has that experience. Some people start out and they have no one that's interested in their brand or what they're doing or anything that they have to say. But one thing I think that is really important is just to stand your ground and stand and make sure you stand for something that means something.
I want to ask you all a real important question. There's been a lot of talk the past week, especially in some of the conversations that Ice Cube has been having, and everybody's been watching it on social media. If you right now were sitting down, any one of you can tackle this question. We're sitting down with President Biden and Vice President Harris. What program would you want the government to enact specifically for you all, like with your name on it, that is the young Black entrepreneurs? What kind of program would you like to see? And anybody can jump in.
Well, for me, I would love just to see like a program that provides mentorship. Because one thing with a lot of HBCU entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs in general is that we need guidance. I know for me, I didn't need to apply for a loan for HBCU Pulse because it's sort of like a self-started business. But one thing, especially coming out of college last year, that I really would have loved is just the guidance of, okay, here's where I was when y'all was your age. Here's where I was when I came out of college. And I would love if in a structured way, we had a level of mentorship and guidance that young entrepreneurs would be able to, obtain that could help us along our journey.
Tell me about HBCU Pulse real quick, because I didn't get a chance to ask you that, Randall. What is HBCU Pulse?
So HBCU Pulse is a student-centric multimedia outlet where the big thing is uplifting student voices and uplifting young voices within the HBCU community. We don't want to just post pretty pictures on Instagram. We don't want to just always post comedic tweets on Twitter. We want to showcase the story of HBCUs and the stars that we produce. So what we like to do takeovers on the story. We show the HBCU experience. We want to galvanize and mobilize HBCU students to vote and stand for social change. And in general, just, lead a cultural exchange amongst HBCUs and show that, while we're all different, we're the same, and empower each other for the best. So when we graduate, we have a strong brand and a strong community amongst ourselves.
So I'm going to use you as the test target right now. How do you guys make money?
Well, we make money primarily off social media. We have a lot of influencers in the community. And the big thing is, making money using your tools. We have a lot of resources that, other generations didn't have. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have TikTok now. And, we're able to utilize, our gifts and our talents and, the culture that was created for us and that we've added on to, to monopolize our talents and monopolize, our creations. So, one thing I see is a huge influencer culture, and a lot of, young students, it might not be a multi-million-dollar business, but they have different businesses. Like they might sell chips in the dorm. They might do hair. They might, cut hair in the dorms. They might sell t-shirts or sweatshirts, but that's a business, and that could turn into something bigger for them because they're honing that entrepreneurial spirit.
All right. Well, let me ask Ja'Cory Bernard, what would you ask of President Biden and Vice President Harris? If you had a one-on-one sit down, what kind of program would you like them to enact specifically for students like yourself?
So I have to, Randall took the words right out of my mouth. As a future educator, I know that if I sit in the classroom with third graders and I give them materials, say books to learn, and I just say learn, they're not gonna learn. Right? I have to actually teach them so that they can then gain the knowledge and apply it, right? To be successful in their endeavors and in their efforts. They all want to be smart, but until I teach them, they're not going to be able to internalize that knowledge and use it for the purpose that it's meant for. The same thing goes for businesses, right? We have students who these are new parallels for them, right? These young entrepreneurs, they have nothing of the sort in terms of experience or exposure, right? And so it's asking them to be successful, yet we have no tools or no guidance for which to achieve that success. And so for me, it goes back to the mentorship, a protege program, some kind of guidance provided to these young entrepreneurs that say, not only do we have resources and guidance for you, but we have them from people who look just like you, right? Who have gone through some of the same struggles that you have gone through, who have come from similar backgrounds, and they're going to walk with you in this pursuit, in this journey to your greatness, to your excellence. So I think Randall put it great, right? That mentorship, right? I am because we are, right? If we can unite together and use one another as our stepping stones to where it is we see ourselves, that's how we achieve success in an equitable way.
You know, let me ask this, Jamila. I'm sure when you started your business, Brooklyn Tea, I'm sure people looked at you like you were crazy. And I'm sure there were a lot of people that probably did not want to help with funds and saying, well, you know, we already got Starbucks. Why do we need Brooklyn Tea? You know, real quick, for people who are in that position right now, trying to get their dream off the ground, how did you do it?
Yeah, so there's no easy answer to that. And in terms of like this notion of there not being enough space, I always push us to go against that urge to see ourselves that way, because when I go to Whole Foods, right, and I go to the tea selection, there are 100 different businesses there, right? And there is this narrative that when we enter the space, there's not enough, right? But if they figured out a way to have 100 different tea suppliers, right, be on the same shelves, then by God, I can be there too, right? And so we can have to always think of ourselves as being in a place of abundance instead of scarcity. And so I would encourage everyone to see that. And I personally struggle with that. Every so often, that gut reaction comes up, right? To live in that scarcity and say that, okay, there's too many and there's not enough room for me. But again, it'll come up. Fight it every time. There's enough space for everyone to play. We see the proof of that, right?
How did you get the money?
How did I get the money? I cleared out my entire, I actually, Ja'Cory, I started out as a teacher. I taught first, second, third, and fourth grade. I was a administrator, dean of students, and I cleared out my entire 403B plan. So myself and my fiance, we are down to zero savings, completely cleared out, plus a combination of donations from the AUC, from Spelman Morehouse folks, and people just in my life who saw the passion and the need for healing that tea brings, and that can be in the metaphorical sense, right? Or in the literal sense that tea is a benefit in so many ways. And so just be ready in this world when you're starting your business to lose everything. That's not an easy answer. It's not a fair answer, but it is likely the truth. We're starting, you know, Ali and I are both first generation graduates, you know, college graduates. And so there's not this bedrock of wealth waiting for us. And so for us, it really was giving everything that we had and just hoping that we were intentional enough, focused enough, and had the right supports to see it through no matter what.
All right. Eugenia Williams, have you sat down with President Biden and Vice President Harris? What kind of program would you like them to enact that would be able to help HBCU student entrepreneurs?
Well, considering in the AUC, just about all my friends have their own eyelash business or lip gloss, or they sell, or they do hair or anything like that. I still want to agree with what Randall and Ja'Cory were saying. We need to start teaching our youth earlier about these types of situations. One thing I was talking about with some friends earlier was the issue of financial illiteracy. So we need to start having that conversation about becoming more financially literate, because college students start these businesses, some of them, to pay their tuition so that they don't become in debt and so they don't have to take out student loans. So it's more important to teach them, will teach us about these issues before we're caught in a rut where it's, should I continue my business or should I continue school?
And David, you spoke a little bit earlier, but of course, if you got into a room with President Biden, being the graduate and the most experienced business person here, what would you ask for?
Well, I have a whole laundry list of things that I asked for, but I would say that going through my journey, from a college graduate, which during that time I had a chance to, gain experience through internships, corporate and government. I worked at the Federal Reserve Board in DC for 8 years. I think, starting there, with the people that he would look to lead these agencies, that hopefully some of them would look like us at the department level and at the cabinet level. I think that would be great, with, folks that have a diverse experience in life, education, and, where they're from. And I've had the opportunity to build that network, folks like Chris Upperman, who's worked at, the prior administration, Obama administration, and was able to build private partnerships and public partnerships, as well as work with organizations like Involve Entrepreneurship. And I think bringing those folks to the table who have that experience, standing in the gap with folks who are building these companies, whether it's on campus or fresh grad. I will also say that, some of the elements of the Biden plan in terms of economic equity, including the investment in small businesses, the $30 billion I believe he had earmarked, is great. I will also, look at taking a step further in terms of, hopefully, incentivizing people to, invest in small businesses. So, one of the major challenges for small businesses is that friends and family gap, and that could be for a brick and mortar business or a tech startup such as mine at Sports Market, where you need to go out and find that cash. You may not have enough of collateral to get a traditional bank loan, and so you have to literally go to your rich uncle if you have one, or a friend of yours or a mentor at your former company that you worked at, and pitch your idea and things of that nature. But not everyone has that network coming out even out of school to do that. I was fortunate enough to have some alum from Florida A&M, as well as some mentors in the banking industry that was able to eventually become friends and family or angel round for my business at some point. However, everyone doesn't have that opportunity. And even going from that friends and family and making it past that, what they call the death valley when it comes to small businesses, to a business that's up and running, that is hard. And part of that is having that financial literacy that Eugenia mentioned. I think having programs at college level and high school level for financial literacy would be amazing. That's a great point that she made. In addition to that, once you graduate from school and you're bootstrapping your company, you may not be getting paid the same thing as the next person doing the same job. So, equal pay for women, for men, everyone, based on, hopefully level playing field variables would be awesome. In addition to that, student loan debt has been a huge burden for people that are in school and coming out of school on parents. So some type of, very innovative program that will allow people to come out of school with less debt, or maybe even, just increase grant programs, that would be great for students. And, I would say for me, coming out of college with a job, that was great. That allowed me to save money, like what Jamila's mentioning, and invest in my company coming out the gate. And so I think all of those elements in general for a very, comprehensive economic equity plan, as he has, expanding that some to address those issues that Black Americans deal with would be amazing.
You know, it's very interesting, and I wanted to say this. One funny observation I had, I was waiting for one of you all to say relieve student loan debt, but nobody said that, but I'm sure you were all thinking that. But, you know, one of the things that I saw in a story that I talked about on the radio was the Wells Fargo CEO story about saying that, you know, finding Black talent was hard, right? So in saying that, you know, I started thinking with doing this panel, if a CEO thinks that finding Black talent is hard, I'm sure that trickles down into finding successful businesses to invest in that are Black. And, you know, I think that stereotype has always kind of like held us back with people thinking that we can't do it because we were Black. So on that note, how many of you all have a relationship with a person at a bank that you can pick up the phone and call to, you know, help out with the situation or ask for advice? David?
Yes, as I mentioned, I guess my relationship stemmed directly from the banking industry where I worked at previously for 8 years, developing policy, working with financial institutions. And during that point, that was during the last Great Recession that America experienced 2008, 2009. However, coming out of that, some great things did occur with data reporting in terms of you know, minority institutions. And so I think another suggestion I would offer is incentivizing CDFIs, you know, for them to, you know, have more access to funds, incentivizing agencies like SBA. They've done, you know, I thought a huge job in terms of the PPP program, you know, with the program last minute. That was put together. However, there are ways in which to retool some of those programs at the SBA. And of course, you know, as I mentioned before, have folks, continue to have folks in leadership that look like us, that have these diverse experiences, to be able to make sure that the programs that are developed are addressing everyone, all Americans, and that, you know, it's on an even playing field. So, you know, those are some of the things I would suggest there.
Anybody else have a bank relationship?
Yeah, I would say mine is emerging through the pandemic. I was able to get in contact with a friend of a friend who's a banker, and now I definitely count that as an important relationship and networking opportunity. Definitely the Chamber of Commerce, the SBA, as David mentioned, are also great financial resources. And they, a lot of times, they bridge that gap, right? If you don't have that homeboy relationship with a banker as of yet, they are a federal institution that can be a gateway to provide the opportunity. So folks who don't have that as of yet, I would definitely say reach out to the Chamber of Commerce, SBA, that's where you are stationed, and use them to get to where you need to be and to get those resources that will help you succeed and boost your business. So that's what I would just add.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in on that one? Okay. I remember when I was young starting, starting DJing and hosting parties and trying to come up with money. I remember I went into a bank in Baltimore, Harbor Bank, and had started a relationship with the manager, the general manager there, who was the head banker, and wind up giving me my first loan to do an event. That helped. And even when I opened my restaurant in Atlanta, it was, like you said, through the SBA that I was able to get the loan to open the restaurant. At that time, that was the SBA loan program that then President Obama and Joe Biden had put into place for small businesses, and especially minority small businesses. So I would say that definitely we definitely have to keep moving in that particular direction. Before we come to our close, I think probably one of the hardest things that people have to be able to do to become young entrepreneurs, obviously, we've said it going around in a circle, is believing in ourselves, right? Believe that this is something that you can do. I want you to tell us, if you can, and anybody can pick up on this, was there ever a time where you almost gave up, and why? And I know everybody's got one, but go right ahead.
I can say for me, like, just going through school and wanting to, sit where you're at, Frank. I want to be, on the radio. I want to, be in media. And I didn't think, when I started at Fort Valley, that I would have an outlet like Pulse, and I wanted it to go in the way that I wanted to go. I wanted to, to possibly find a way to get on air. And when that wasn't happening, those opportunities weren't coming, coming from schools such as Fort Valley, where we're known, but we're not Howard, we're not Spelman in the way of, hey, we're going to pick someone from here to be on this TV show. Like it became a burdensome, and oftentimes you feel like, where is that next step? Like, where are you going? Like, is my business going to take me where I want to go? So and sometimes it's always a struggle where it's like, would this have worked? Would that have worked? And a lot of regret that, you can sometimes live in, when I was in school, should I have done it this way? And maybe I'd be here. But I would just say, just to get out of that, is that you have to live in the present and, look for a better future just for your business, just for yourself. And it's a whole new world out here where we're all on the same playing field. So you just have to keep pushing and keep going just to get out of that, the hole and the slump that you get in sometimes as an entrepreneur, especially a young one.
Jamila, anytime you and your husband wanted to give up?
Yes, every 3 months. Every 3 months, I'm about to throw in the towel, Frank. If you have a brick and mortar, or you are planning to have a storefront business, ready yourself for that intensity. Just earlier this week, a leak came from the ceiling from the upstairs neighbors, right? We had a flood 3 days after we opened, and that was after having 3 days of great business. And then all the floors that we just did, all the ceilings that we just did were flooded on Christmas Day, it's our first week of business, right? And so there are all these twists and turns that aren't just emotional games. They're like physical things that are happening, right? The pipes, because it's New York is like 1,000 years old, right? And so when you're in these buildings, things break and things budge. And then there's all the other elements that come into just being a business owner. And I would say, yeah, every 3 months, I am waving a white flag. And it's really been a blessing to have a partner. So for those who are in these endeavors solo, my hat goes off to you, because really for us, it's been taking turns, being ready to walk out the door. And we have this model that only one of us can be down at a time, right? Mm-hmm. Only one of us can be down at a time. And if you don't have a partner, I would definitely urge you to find someone in an official or unofficial capacity to be your sounding board, to be your level head person, to be your source of motivation and inspiration, because especially if you're doing a brick and mortar, things will fall apart quite literally, and you need to be able to tap into a source.
Ja'Cory, what about you?
I think for me, the thing that I've struggled with the most is validity, right? Am I legit? Am I real enough? Is this something that's actually something people want? And I think what that does is it influences or it impacts your drive to actually do it. I make the analogy to that of a car, right? As long as your car is able to start, it'll drive to where you need to go or where you see yourself going. And indeed, it may give you some trouble along the way, but as long as you fix it and keep going, you'll get to where you're going. So for me, it's just remembering, that things are going to go in a direction in which I don't want it. Even the best kept cars give their owners trouble, right? Even the best oiled and maintained businesses have their struggles. But as long as realizing and remembering that as long as we keep driving, right? As long as we keep driving, we'll get to where we see ourselves to be.
Eugenia, what about you?
Oh man. I think one of the main things is, again, just knowing who I am and knowing my worth and the worth of my work that I do. It's a lot of time and effort that I put into my business, and I need to recognize that I'm my worst enemy sometimes. I'm always harder on myself than other people, and I have to remember that not everyone sees what I see. And sometimes you really just have to fake it till you make it so that you put out a good image for others. Because one thing that I've noticed is that people will pick up on your energy of your business, whether it be through your Instagram feed, your Twitter feed, or just the business flow in general. So I think one thing is just to make sure that I know my worth with my business, considering the immense amount of competition I have along my Spelman sisters and Morehouse brothers, because everyone has a business at Spelman and Morehouse. So it's really just knowing that I'm here for a reason, my business is doing well for a reason, and I created it for a reason.
All right. David, close us out. When was the time you wanted to give up?
I'll tell you, it's hard when someone tells you no. When you pitching that idea, asking for funding, it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? I think, this is my 5th year full time with this business, and I have experienced a lot of obstacles, impacting personal finances, business finances, customers, being there, but sometimes customers aren't able to pay, or they have to pay a little bit later. There's a lot of issues that you deal with, and it's like, sometimes that other job opportunity or other phone calls you may get looks enticing. You're just like, well, that's a little comfortable. Well, as an entrepreneur, you got to kind of learn to live with that unknown, that nature of the unknown, the uncomfortability. For me, definitely many times where things didn't work out the way I wanted to, doors were closed, but guess what? There are other doors that were waiting, to be open. And, I thank, the one above for being there and making sure that, there's a path. And there's also, plenty of other people that, I recommend in general, like people that can help entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, go out and get advisors. They've been there for me. Folks like Chris Duffus, Maurice Bozier, like they've been there for me as a mentor, as an advisor. Folks like Marcelia Freeman, who's a banker now in the venture capital world. Folks that have, seen, you put in that hard work, seen that grit. And, when you do need that boost, they're there to help you out. I have, plenty of other friends as well. Like Henry Hunter has been there for me to give me great advice for business and legal. And so I think it's just, bringing it home what Ja'Cory mentioned with that network, having a great group of folks around you, other entrepreneurs, very helpful. Like some of my best friends over at Ghost Note Agency. And so all of those folks, that community, I encourage anyone that's an entrepreneur, have that community in place. Sometimes your family might look at you crazy. They're like, well, why are you taking all this risk? Some of your friends might look at you, they might be clapping for you, but they were like, I don't know, David, you've been at this for a while. But at the same time, willing to, be there, be a shoulder, help you connect those dots, invest in your company, buy that product for you. And I think all of those folks, it's really a team effort. You can't do it by yourself. There's no way you can, start a business and literally do it by yourself. You need a good team of people around you. All
right, everybody, 10 seconds, starting with you, David, the name of your business and a way folks can see what you do.
Yes, so Sports Market, we are a sports and team management platform. So we service high school sports, AAU programs, allowing them to have contactless payments, messaging, organize themselves online. You can find us at sportsmarket.com. That's markit.com. We also have mobile apps in the iOS and Android stores. So you can find us on the app platforms as well as on our website. Thank you.
Thank you. Eugenia Williams Spelman, give us the information.
My business is called Eau de Javel Clothing. Our online website is called Hbcu JAVELclothing.com, and you can reach all of our social media platforms through there. It is a business that specializes in graphic tees, hoodies, and sweaters that represent our civil rights movement leaders and just Black leaders throughout Black history. So yeah, y'all can reach us through Oda Javel Clothing on Instagram or odajavelclothing.com.
All right. Jamila, Brooklyn Tea, give us the information.
Yes. Hi, everyone again. Brooklyn Tea is located 524 Nostrand Ave. So if you're in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, please pull up. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Brooklyn Tea, TEA. And you can also shop online, brooklyntee.com, for all your loose leaf and tea wear necessities.
There it is. Ja'Cory Bernard, Morehouse, tell us.
Roots Education Redefined. It's an educational outreach organization whose mission is to provide equitable opportunities for students of color. And you can reach us or find us on Facebook and Instagram at Roots Education Redefined.
Guys, thank you very much for a great conversation this evening. African Americans for Biden-Harris and HBCU students for Biden-Harris. I will turn it back over to Trey Baker for the rest of the conversation. Thank you much, guys.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Frank. And thank you to the panelists. This discussion was amazing. We have these calls every week, and this has by far been one of the best panels that we've had. And we were talking about it in the background, like, yeah, we got to go with the HBCU folks more often. I'd like to wrap up by just saying thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to our host, the legendary Frank Ski. Thank you to the team that put this together, Nia Page, the coordinator for this program and the coordinator for HBCU Week. She's done a wonderful job and put together a wonderful panel tonight. Also, our advisory committee on this program, Chris Upperman, Keenan Austin Reed. Thank you for everything that you do. Y'all have taken this program and run with it. A couple of things I need everybody to do before we leave. I need everybody to take out their phones and text AFAM. That's AFAM to 30330. That's AFAM to 30330. There you can access our programs. You can hear about more programs like Make It Happen Monday and Shop Talk and Sister to Sister that'll be happening throughout this week. Also, I need for you to go to iwillvote.com. Go to iwillvote.com and you will be able to come through and find out exactly what it's going to take for you to vote, where your voting precinct is, whether your registration is still good. And it's a very easy thing for us to do is to go to iwillvote.com. Finally, we want you to go out and vote. We want you to go and vote early, safely as possible, because that's what this is all about. Is we won't be able to make these changes in a Biden-Harris administration and help these types of business owners unless and until there's a Biden-Harris administration for them to work with. And so we need everyone to go out and vote early, vote safely. A couple of things for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, you will have a On the Yard and Sister to Sister mashup program that will feature campus queens from HBCUs. Going into Thursday, you'll have Shop Talk that'll feature HBCU athletes and other celebrities talking Black male engagement issues. On Friday, we've got our big HBCU homecoming rally. So, for all of us who are missing our homecomings or our Founders Days, all the things that we would have been having this year, this is your time. So we want everybody to go to the HBCU rally. And finally, we'll end our week on Sunday with a gospel program that will feature acts from HBCUs and also pastors and faith leaders who have HBCU backgrounds. So with that said, we'd like to thank you again for coming out to Make It Happen Monday. We got a couple more of these, and we're pushing Black-owned business. We're pushing Black-owned business forward, and we're pushing Black people forward into November 3rd and hopefully into a Biden-Harris administration. So thank you so much, and let's make it happen.